What's going on, guys, and welcome to a late-night AEW Collision audio review for December 9th, 2023. I am Graham G.S. Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great weekend so far, or practically new week at this point. We don't typically have, I can't say typically have the Collision audio reviews up this late. I think we did last week, the week before that, if we did have one, which I don't think we did, because that was Survivor Series. They've either dropped either later on Sundays or earlier on Mondays due to the fact there's been a lot going on lately. For example, this weekend, we had NXT Deadline last night. Totally forgot about the fact that Impact had their Final Resolution event as well on Impact Plus, running at the exact same time. So we had Collision, Deadline, and Final Resolution, all going on simultaneously, and all very good shows. I enjoyed being at Deadline. That was a solid show. Collision was actually, once again, a very good show overall, a lot like last week. In the Continental Classic, for all of its flaws, specifically in the Gold League, for how predictable a lot of those matches have felt so far, I praise Collision's Blue League booking in terms of how they've switched things up, made things a bit more unpredictable with who's winning and who's losing, who still needs to catch up, and the level of matches as well. On this show, we got Bryan Danielson and Andrade El Idolo in the main event, and then in the opener, we had Claudio, Castagnoli, and Eddie Kingston in the Blue League Continental Classic matchups, which were both great. And in the middle, not a lot of bad stuff either. This show was taped on Tuesday in Montreal. Apparently, the attendance was not great. I saw the pictures. Even the attendance at the NXT show last night was not great. It was pretty good overall. They blocked off 3 different sections on the hard cam side, but overall, pretty good attendance. I can only imagine that the crowd in attendance at Collision also sounded louder in person than they did on TV. They came off pretty well here, specifically during that Omega-Ethan Page matchup. I don't know why they taped this on Tuesday. I don't know if that's due to the fact that they had something else going on in the arena this past weekend on Saturday. I'm not sure. Obviously, I would imagine they taped Rampage on Wednesday. So all of this stuff actually was taped before Dynamite happened on Wednesday, which is interesting. But it didn't really end up mattering because nothing on this show played off of anything we saw on Wednesday. But we kicked off the show with the aforementioned Continental Classic Blue League matchup, Claudio Castagnoli versus Eddie Kingston, the current New Japan Strong Openweight Champion, and the Ring of Honor World Champion, of course. Really good stuff here from these two, as you would expect. A lot like their last couple of matches at Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor back in April, and the Grand Slam matchup they had in September on Dynamite. Really good stuff here. The crowd got more into it as the match progressed. And, there really haven't been, not that there haven't been stories in the Continental Classic, but what I've said before in other other reviews and stuff like that, it kind of felt like specifically on the Gold League side, it was too predictable. Swerve is great. I'm glad he's winning matches. But he's 3-0 so far. Jon Moxley's 3-0. It's pretty clearly coming down to those two. One of those two winning for that side. On the Blue League side, at least for the first week, it was pretty predictable. Second week, a little less predictable. And now this week, we had people go over that I was not expecting. Eddie Kingston, I was honestly half expecting the fact that he might not win here and then he might have to lose the championships as a result. Because remember, this entire Continental Classic is for both of his belts. So if he loses in the first round, so to speak, if he can't even advance to the next round at World's End, then he automatically just drops the championships. But so far, he's not coming out with the championships anymore because they're currently on display during these matches at ringside, but he is still being officially called the Ring of Honor World Champion and the New Japan Strong Openweight Champion. But they had a really good match here. Claudio losing as he should have. Eddie was supposed to go over, should have gone over. Eddie should not be bumped from the Continental Classic already. There should still be a story there with him fighting to retain his titles and wanting to make it all the way to the end. Will he? I'm not sure. He's already lost to Danielson. He lost the match last week as well. I think to Brody King actually 2 weeks ago. He lost to Danielson last week, I think. So he has more matches to go with Daniel Garcia and a match to go with, who else is left? Andrade and Daniel Garcia. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. This was really good stuff, though. I'm glad Eddie's back on the board with 3 points. He probably is not winning the whole thing. I don't think he can. Danielson is already 2-1, but if Danielson wins one more match, he automatically has more points than Kingston. And I don't think Danielson is losing his next 2 matches. So they're doing a good job of keeping you guessing, but I don't think Kingston's winning for his side. Even if the last match that he has ends in a countout or a draw or a DQ or whatever, he still won't be able to advance if Danielson gets 3 wins. And I don't think anyone so far has gotten 3 wins. I think everyone has at least 2 wins and a loss. Brody King did not have a match this week, I don't think. I think he's only 2 wins and no losses. So we'll see how that shakes out. But great opener, I thought. Willow Nightingale taking on Mercedes Martinez up next in a rematch, I think from a couple of months ago, I thought. I think the commentators had also mentioned that we have not seen them go one-on-one at all yet in AEW, and if so, it was a while ago. I don't remember. It's been some time. I could have sworn they had a match, maybe like the Ring of Honor pay-per-view a year and a half ago. Didn't they have a match on Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor, like last year, where the winner would face Deonna Purrazzo for the Ring of Honor World, the Women's Championship, the Women's World title, about a year and a half ago? Maybe not, but they had a good match here, actually. They got a lot more time than I expected. This was on, part of the ongoing program with Willow and Chris Statlander against Mercedes Martinez and Diamante. They were already doing this feud over the summer. This was nothing new. But I'm glad they actually got some time here before the commercial break and after the commercial break. It would have been very easy for Tony Khan to give them 5 minutes, which is kind of the norm for the women on these shows. Sometimes a little bit longer, but usually these matches don't really mean much. But I thought they did a good job of building up the match with the video packages and then having a great match when they were given the time to do so. So I thought that was really cool. Good match here, Willow winning with a inside cradle on Mercedes. Diamante jumps in the ring, starts beating down on Willow before Chris Statlander makes the save. So the inevitable tag team match is coming. Wardlow in action after that against Willie Mack. Willie Mack is a documented friend of AR Fox they were talking about. So Mack standing up for Fox, who was beaten and destroyed by Wardlow a couple of weeks ago. He suffered the exact same fate. Pretty standard stuff here with Willie Mack losing to Wardlow in decisive fashion, exactly as it should have played out. I like Willie Mack, but there was really no question regarding the outcome here. And what I liked about it was that after Wardlow, and I didn't think he beat him up enough for this to really be the case, but after he hit the powerbomb, not even multiple powerbombs, I think it was just one powerbomb, he left the ring before the referee could even call for the bell because he knew he had won the match. And the referee then called for the bell, so Wardlow winning by referee stoppage. I thought that was really well done. I think it's safe to assume that Wardlow's going to play a role or factor in some form or fashion in this whole devil thing going on right now with MJF. Probably is one of the masked men working for the devil. I don't think he's the devil. I think he was the big guy that was walking around with the mask. I think not this past week on Dynamite, but the week before when they were about to hit MJF with a chair in the middle of the ring. I think he was the bigger guy with the mask on. Then he came out for a match right after that on Dynamite, I think against AR Fox actually, and his hair was all messed up more than usual. He was wearing the exact same boots as the, muscled up masked man was in the previous segment, so it was pretty obvious that it was him. And it could be him under the mask now, but it won't be revealed to be him. That's also possible, but it probably will be. Kenny Omega after that taking on All Ego Ethan Page in their native Canada, both guys Canadians, so the crowd was super into this matchup. A very random match. Ethan Page threw out the challenge, I think last week on the show, on Collision, and Omega accepted. Omega's doing the thing right now with Jericho. Jericho was not on any of the shows this week, was he? If he was, he must have been on Dynamite, but I don't think he was. I don't know if Jericho made the trip to Canada this week. Maybe he was taken out. I don't remember what happened with Jericho, but Omega flew solo this week against Ethan Page. He is still owed a tag team title shot, is Omega, against Ricky Starks and Big Bill, alongside Jericho as the Golden Jets. So this was a deviation from what we've gotten from him in recent weeks and months with the Jericho tag team stuff. This is the Omega I want to see on a more consistent basis in AEW. They went out there and had a really, really good match. And now that Ethan Page did a pretty nice job of proving in defeat that he can hang with Omega and prove that he can be on his level in a match like this. They had a really, really good match. Ethan Page is a guy that actually recently revealed in an interview that he actually requested to go to Ring of Honor to get more time, because he probably knew sitting on the sidelines in AEW would do him no good. He's done a whole lot of nothing for the past year and a half. So good on him for going to basically a dead brand in Ring of Honor, trying to start up a storyline there, and now Tony Nese, they're going to have an I Quit match next week at Final Battle, and now challenging Kenny Omega to a match in Canada. It was really for the live crowd, but even watching the match, the crowd was into it, and I was into it, just knowing the crowd was into it, and the match itself was really good. Again, Page having a really, really good showing here, and now the question is if they can capitalize on that showing. The guy's good. He can talk. He's gotten himself in great shape. Hopefully he can build up enough momentum with whatever he's doing right now in Ring of Honor with Tony Nese and those other guys. And I know what he's doing in Ring of Honor because they watch it. But hopefully with whatever he's doing there, he can slowly build himself back up to a point on AEW television where he can become a regular on the show, maybe as a babyface. The Matt Hardy stuff after a while sucked. The Firm stuff sucked. The Scorpio Sky stuff sucked. They really have not seemingly found the right role for him yet in AEW, but they should, because I think he's a great get for them. He's been a very good hand in the past 2.5 years, but he also has a lot more left to offer, I think. Tag team action after that, 2 more Canadian natives, Daddy Magic Matt Menard and Cool Hand Angelo Parker, taking on Penta El Miedo and the AAA Cruiserweight Champion Komander. Really good match here. The crowd was super into this match because, again, Menard and Parker are both from Canada. So a match that would typically be, your average throwaway match on a Rampage actually turned into a really fun competitive match here in Collision due to the fact they were in Canada and they were super behind Menard and Parker. That's not to say they were like booing Penta and Komander, but they were just more into the former, 2.0, 3.0, whatever their name was prior to becoming Matt Menard and Angelo Parker, which aren't even their real names. But I thought this was fun stuff. The only thing missing from this match was the fact they lost. If they were in Canada, they were over. They're really never ever made to look like legitimate threats to anyone, or Menard and Parker. Why not have them win here? I don't see the harm in having them just go out there and win a match. Especially against a team that isn't even really a team. Penta's a notable name, obviously, but he and Komander are not an actual team. They're not going to go on, I don't think, the challenge for the tag team titles, and Komander could have easily absorbed the loss. He's losing constantly anyway. The match in the long run didn't really matter for anything, didn't really matter for shit, because it's not a storyline feud. It was just an excuse to get them out there on a Collision. This was very much a filler show, I think, on the whole, aside from the Continental Classic stuff. So why not just give Menard and Parker the win? That didn't really make much sense to me. And then just like that, we got to the main event, the second Continental Classic match in the Blue League of the night. Andrade El Idolo taking on Bryan Danielson in a rematch from a couple of weeks ago. More great stuff from these two. They went in there and just beat the shit out of each other. Danielson's great. He got busted open at one point with Andrade busting open, I think, the side of his head or his eye or his eyebrow or something. So he was bleeding towards the end. So Andrade, being the ruthless bastard that he is, brings Danielson to the middle of the ring, hits his finisher, and pins him clean. That honestly surprised me. I thought they would have Danielson go 3-0 here. He's already beaten Andrade. He beats him again. They did not do that. And had they done that, that would have made it pretty obvious that Danielson is winning for the Blue League. It's a big win for Andrade, first of all. Second of all, it makes it a little less predictable that Danielson's going the entire way in winning this Blue League. It could end up being Andrade. Andrade's lost one match, but I think he won his match last week. I'm trying to think. Did he beat Brody King or did he lose to Brody King? Did he even have a match with Brody King? Like, who did he face? I don't remember. I think Andrade has 2 wins at this point, though. So this was a big win for him. It keeps Danielson at 6 points. It brings Kingston up to 3 and gives Kingston a chance. Claudio, I think, is 1-3 or 1-2. Again, I don't remember exactly. I think Brody King has beaten Claudio as well, actually. So Claudio's down 2 wins. He beat Daniel Garcia that first week. That's what it was. So Claudio has 1 win, 2 losses. Kingston has 2 losses, 1 win as well. So they're tied right now. Danielson's got 2 wins, 1 loss. Andrade's got 2 wins, I think. I think he's got 2 wins. And Brody King's got 2 wins as well. So I think it's going pretty well in the Blue League so far. They still have another 2 weeks, I think, of this. They're going to culminate it at World's End with the finals. So we'll find out in 2 weeks on Collision who's going to the finals of this Continental Classic, and they'll wrap it up there. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. This has been a really, really fun tournament so far from an in-ring standpoint, and they are telling stories. I mean, Garcia has not won a lot of matches at all, but they're doing a great job of trying to tell the story with him that he is trying to prove in defeat that he's worthy of being on the level of all these other guys. That he's down on his luck lately. He puts in a great performance, but he can't take home the victory. Why is that? What's the problem? Is he a sports entertainer? Is he a wrestler? Blah, blah, blah. Danielson's doing his own thing. Moxley's out there cutting great promos. Swerve is trying to keep his momentum going following the big wins over Adam Page on pay-per-view. Kingston is trying to just retain his championships and fight for his life. It's great stuff, and Andrade's also got CJ Perry in his corner as his new manager, so that might pay dividends in the long run. But again, really good match here. I enjoyed this for what it was, or a really good show here, actually, for what it was. And we had the usual backstage segments and promos and whatever. But what really shined and what really stood out to me about the show was the in-ring action. They took a show that was taped on Tuesday that kind of felt like a filler throwaway show on paper, and they gave us a pretty fun show in front of a hot Montreal crowd. The Wardlow stuff was what it needed to be. The Page and Omega match was a lot of fun. Willow and Mercedes Martinez, I know the two of them are talented, but I wasn't exactly sure if they would get the time they deserved to have the match they're capable of, and they did. Even the throwaway tag team match with Penta and Komander, despite the fact they won, and I wasn't a fan of that, them versus Menard and Parker, that's a tongue twister for me for some reason, turned out to be a pretty fun match as well. Then, of course, Kingston and Claudio, and then Danielson and Andrade, both really, really good matches to bookend the show. So that was Collision for December 9th, 2023. We'll be back next week with another audio review for Collision here on the channel, so keep an eye out for that. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews. Have an awesome one, guys, and I'll catch your ass down the road.